G'day! In today's video I'm doing a screen replacement on a Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. This one is a gold variety and this has been sitting on my blue heat pad here at 75 degrees Celsius for about 10 minutes, potentially a little bit longer. It's very toasty to touch. And now I'm going to open it up using a thin metal pry tool and also using some isopropyl alcohol. I'll zoom you guys in a bit closer. There we go. Now if I spray some of this on here, this normally cuts through the adhesive very well and it makes the job considerably easier. So if you're not already using isopropyl to get into your Samsung phones, highly recommended. So the combination of heat and the alcohol does get in there fairly well. Granted, I usually find this part here has the most risk of breaking or cracking the back. So you do have to use a side of caution, especially right on these edges. Well, that's usually where you'll end up cracking it. Also, this section up here is a bit dangerous, as it tends to wave out and back in. Back to the other side. So I tend to find it's best to loosen the straight edges first, because when you do get to the corner, it does give it room to lift up without potentially damaging more. And now I'm a bit happier to go a bit more aggressively on this one. I can't remember with this one whether or not the back cover, the glass stays with it. Turns out we do. And with enough edges already released, we should hopefully just be able to fold it like a book. There we go. And if I backtrack up here, I should be able to keep the factory adhesive as well. There we go. Most of that is intact. Pretty happy with that. It could be done slightly better in the bottom here, a little bit up the top, but we're mostly there. So I'm going to put that to the side. I'm going to proceed to take this section apart here. There's an absolutely huge camera module there. But let's get into it. So luckily for us, the vast majority of screws I'm encountering here are just the same size. I will point out when they are different. So I'm not going to abandon you like that. And I'm just putting them in a rough location just above me. And a similar pattern to what's already here, just so I know that where they go back in. Granted, the sizing of them is going to be all the same until we get to the main board. So it's not too much to be concerned about. So what I'm going to do here is once this back shielding is off and this NFT pad down here, NFC, not NFT, too many goddamn NFTs, we should be able to disconnect the battery. Disconnect here. As I say, disconnect battery. One thing we will need to take out, SIM tray. Go. if I lift this section up down here, okay, over here too. There we go. Now I can disconnect the battery, disconnect the daughter board, or these various flex cables. I'm just putting my fingernail under there and pulling up. And let go all very easily, like that. Disconnect the pen. Now with all that disconnected, I should be able to lift this section up here. I'll move this out of the way. I'll remove in the replacement chassis. Disconnect this connector here. And I'm just looking around the main board to see if I can spot another screw in there. There we go. Disconnect the front facing camera as well. Move that up. Move this out of the way. At a quick glance, I can't really see much there, so I should be okay to lift, I will assume. There we go. One board out. I'm looking at it, there's really not too much extra that I can see over here. Put that out of the way. So I am using a service pack or a Samsung service pack, which does contain the whole screen, assembly, frame, everything. Granted, you will find other quality or other varieties, but I do find overall this is the original quality that you can get. Now if I drop that and wiggle that into here, like so, connect up the new connectors. 1, 2, and front facing camera. I'm just kind of like loosely holding it on top and then pushing down. That locks it into position. Or loosely hold it, wiggle it a bit, and you should feel it snap into position. Yeah. Move this bit out of the way. Now it's on to move to the lower half. So we go over here. We're going to take out the daughter board first. So we have another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws here, all of which I'm going to assume are the same length. Flick this out of the way. Lift it up. We do have 1, 2, 3 extra screws there. We do have a square Taptic looking engine sitting down there looking back. Now we'll disconnect this one. And I will disconnect the other one, like so. So I just flicked it up with my nail. And now from here, lift out the daughter board. This looks to contain microphone and some aerial, I would assume. Okay, just popped out. Okay, I'll put that off to the side. Next up is the charger port, which I should be able to hopefully just lift up and wiggle backwards. There we go. Charger port. Doesn't quite need a clean. It's getting borderline to it. And now we have a very odd square Taptic or haptic engine. Very light, very odd. I'd say we are still round anyway, even though it is a square housing. I'll drop that into the new one. Next up is probably what's going to be the next biggest challenge for most people, getting this battery out. The method I've come across is old friend isopropyl, and spray that loosely into there just so it runs in. And then I should just be able to use a simple pry tool. Now, metal on a battery, don't use too much force if you're using a metal pry tool. As you see, isopropyl alcohol is just eating that adhesive, and it came out with minimal fuss. Do be careful though, it will get on the battery or on the battery writing and essentially erase it, as we can see there. But from here, it looks like that whole chassis is now salvaged for as much as I can get out of it. So we'll put it over there. Well, enough looking here, we do have a red moisture indicator, which, such a new phone, such an expensive phone, such a waterproof looking phone, that is a tad disappointing. I'm going to drop the new board into here, and one screw to here. Next up, probably should put the battery in. So I'll fold this out of the way. Do take the 3 seconds it takes to put the adhesive back in there, or else you'll have a subpar rattling phone. Something like that. That should be enough tape to hold it in position. Over here will do. And that should keep it stuck pretty darn well. So what I typically do here as well is connect up the battery first, wiggle it around, and then push it down, then disconnect the battery. I do that because if I do that first, I now know, I'll disconnect. I now know that that connection will make it, rather than stick the battery all the way to the bottom of the phone, go to connect it and find out it's too short. And after that, connect the display. Now I'll put the charger port back in. I know I've done that out of sequence. This fella needs to come back out. My apologies. Send him out. Charger port first. The reason why I say that is looking down here, we see a small little trace or a pad that I would say is being connected to. So we'll screw in the charger port now. Also do note that I'm no longer got it on heat. Granted, my heat mat is still on, but right now, once you've disassembled the phone itself, you shouldn't really require too much heat to put it all back together, if any. I do find that the heat does assist with taking it apart, but putting it together shouldn't really be necessary. Okay, that into there. Black screw tried to hide. Got it. And connect this one back up again. So we have flex connected, charger port installed, vibrating motor installed. Next up, where did I put the other bits? Where did he go? There it is. This one to here. Connect it up. Click. And now we put this back on. I usually find angling it from the bottom and then pushing down to the top usually works the best. And getting it to click into position. And we put on all our screws once more. And we're about on the last 2/3 of this repair. So next up is connecting up the remaining flex cables to the main board. And we're getting close to nearly putting it all back together. Where are we? Over here. I'm going to put some more heat back into this so I can reattach it. So now I'll go to the main board. To the main board. Connected, 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 connected. Go this one. Now I'll do the reverse. I angle it from the top, then push down. You might want to make sure there's really no gap along this section here, or else those screws are going to go in slightly wonky. I'll start putting some of those in, just to make sure that's all okay. All those screws look to be of the same length. There we go. connected. So from here, I'll connect up this one. Now this one here I do find usually a little bit tricky. I'm going to push it on first. You have to slide it into the groove that's here. Do we or don't we? No, we don't. It can sit on there. Trying to figure out if it slides under this slight groove that's there. Does look to be one. So I'm going to risk it and connect up the battery now, as I won't be able to see that in a moment. So right now everything but this cable here is connected. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I'll slide this in, if it lets me, like that. There we go. I'm still on the fence if it sits there. I'm going to go on above it, push connector in, connector on. So we'll go here, and we'll keep putting those screws back in. So then from here, welcome to the iPhone 6 there, getting heated up to replace its its battery. But from here, you should be right to reattach the screen. You may want to replace the adhesive depending on how well that went, or you could essentially use something a liken to this around the outer perimeter to stick it back together. This is going to get fairly tacky and should be right. Put it back together here. Let's pinch it back together around the outside of the phone. SIM tray back in. And there we go, one completed Note 20 Ultra. Hope that helps you, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.